Okay, I think I might be live. I know I'm live. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. So remember, I'm saying this 20 seconds before you hear me say it in Facebook land. But before I bring on my special guest, I'm very excited about bringing on. I just want to say that I spoke with Steve Gadd yesterday. I spoke with him a couple of times this week, and he wanted to thank everybody for being part of his chat last week. He had a great time, and he said we should do it again. So of course I told him to just cool his jets. You know, I said, Steve, I got a lot of other people I want to get to way before we do another one with you. So he was a little bummed out. I could tell in his voice. He got real quiet, but he'll get over it. He'll be okay. And after last week, having Steve Gadd, and I don't know how many, I think the chat has had over 10,000 people view it. I thought, okay, I got to do something bigger and better than Steve. And there's only one person that I could think of that would make it better than Steve. Well, there's maybe a few other people, but this person in particular, I'm excited to have on the show. I'll begin by saying that they're a multi-instrumentalist, play many instruments. But I also want to say that they have a busy schedule today. It's a busy day. So I don't know how long they're going to be able to stay on the show. It might just be a few minutes. So you can get your questions in, and we'll get to as many as we can. I'm seeing comments already. All right, let me turn my sound down so I don't run into that problem I run into. So you can get your questions in, and it's already happening. We'll get to as many as we can. I'm seeing comments already. See, already I'm messing this up. Let me turn my sound down. Crying out loud. Okay, that's much better. So hi, everybody. Ian Palmer, Gary Ballard, AKA Banana, Chris Brady, my man from Aquarian, not the aquarium. That's where my other friends live. But Gary Ballard, good to see you, buddy. Man, the old Wurlitzer days. Let me see if my guest is in the queue yet. Not quite ready, but that's okay. While I'm killing a couple of minutes here, I'm going to mention I received this cool book. I'd been in touch with the author, Joe Milliken, a while back. Actually, last year, he did a book signing. It's called Let's Go, and it's a story, a book on Ben Orr of The Cars. Bass player, lead vocalist, sang all the, I don't want to say sang all the hits. He didn't sing all the hits, but he sang all my favorite Cars songs. Great bass player, singer, songwriter, played guitar, and he played drums. And I'll tell you a quick story. I thought I'd made this up in my mind. My wife often tells me that I imagine things, and I know I do, but I in my mind remembered 40 years ago, 1980, while working at Wurlitzer Music. Gary Ballard, you hadn't started there yet in 1980, I don't think. Okay, my guest is just arriving. I'm going to bring them on in a minute. Anyway, Ben came into Wurlitzer and bought a drum set from me. And I knew who he was right away. And I'm like, he said, I want to maybe buy a Rogers set. I've always liked Rogers. This was 1980 when Rogers was kind of like really sort of on its way down, or pretty much down. And I sold him a drum set. And he had told me that he started off as a drummer. I had no idea at the time. And then I told someone that story, and they sort of shrugged their shoulders and said, I don't think so. I don't think he ever played drums. Well, I was thumbing through Joe's book yesterday for a minute, and I got to the part where he talked about how he said he took drum lessons for 13 years. And he started off as a drummer in a few different bands. So I didn't imagine it, and I didn't make it up. I actually sold him a drum set literally 40 years ago. Ben Orr. The Cars had a recording studio right across the street from Wurlitzer called Synchro Sound on Newbury Street. And all the band members used to come in all the time and buy all their stuff. They were all really cool guys, very approachable. And David Robinson bought cymbals from me, didn't have an endorsement. Bought the first Simmons SDS-5 in Boston in 1982 from me at Wurlitzer, David Robinson, that is. Anyway, Lynette Yorks loves the Cars. Who doesn't love the Cars? Hi, Kim. Nice to see you here. Okay, well, all right. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guests because, as I said, they're very busy. Today's a very busy day for them. And I don't know how long they're going to be able to spend with me, so I want to have them come on right now and welcome a very, very special guest, the one and only. You can see her name there. There she is. Okay, there's Fiona. Hi, Fiona.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, I won't keep you too long because I know you're busy, and I love your shirt, by the way.
Show them what shirt you got on. What is that shirt? It's all right. Back up a little bit. Right.
Can you tell everybody what that shirt, why you have that shirt, what it means?
Pops is band.
Pops is what?
Band.
I think you said band.
Pops is band.
Pops is band. Look who's here with me.
Check it out.
So Fiona, let's see. There's probably a lot of questions. People are saying hello to you. I just wanted to talk to you about the drums for a minute.
Say, okay, let's talk about the drums for a minute.
And for anyone who doesn't already know, Fiona is our granddaughter who's going to be turning 5 in about 1 month. But also today is what? What's so special about today?
Daddy's birthday.
It's Daddy's birthday. How great is that? So I'm sitting behind my drums right now. I don't know if you can tell from the camera angle. And you can tell, you've seen these drums before. It's my blue drums that you like.
I need them.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I know you've been playing the electronic drums lately.
You want to go try it?
Well, not yet.
Good idea.
So I wanted to ask you, what do you like better, the electronic drums or your pink drums?
What do you think, Fee? Camera. Which ones do you like more?
These ones? Of course.
I'm going to say hello to everybody out there.
It's a song, but
Okay.
She's a big fan of the metronome.
I know she's been playing to a click track, which is something her grandfather would really embarrass himself doing.
We're going to wake up her brother. Hey,
Click tracks don't like me.
um,
Well, Fiona,
Want to play a little?
okay.
You want to play? Go ahead. All right, she's going to do some stuff.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Billy says she can't hear you up there.
Awesome job. We'll stop it and we'll take some questions.
Hey, Fiona, I have to tell you, one of my favorite drummers, an old friend of mine named Derek Blevins, he said, Fiona rocks. Nail that click.
All right. What do you say?
And he would go.
What do you think? Somebody just said you did a great job with the click.
thank you.
We feel like the click definitely opened something up this time around, Dad.
That's great.
He
Yeah.
was eager to get back on it when we started playing with it. Can you come over here?
Get her used to that. That's great. Every time I play to a click track, it just slows down somehow.
We still really enjoy the pink bouncy ball a lot.
So Fiona, while you're here, are there other things you might want to talk about besides the drums? Maybe the fact that Daddy hot rodded your new pink Jeep?
Oh yeah, what was that thing we called it yesterday? What do we call it? She came up with a new term with Uncle Max. I forget what it was. What did you say? Oh, she said we broomed it up
You broomed it up.
and then souped it up, right? We souped it up.
Yep, there's one of the pink drums, exactly. And the rest of them are upstairs. So what else do you guys have going on today?
What did we do this morning? Tell them what we did outside today.
We made the woodpecker.
We put together the bird feeder that we made.
Yeah.
What else did we do? We started a print.
And we made a cake.
We made a cake.
For Daddy's birthday, yep.
Started a 3D print also.
We did the cake.
Nice. Nice.
Daddy slept in.
Let Daddy sleep in.
That's awesome. For everybody watching at home, she's not usually this shy. I can tell you that right now.
I'm shy.
She's a little shy today.
I'm a
Fiona,
little shy too.
I know you are. And Kelly's always very shy. Fiona, I want to
I
show
might
you.
have to creep away. I'm so shy.
I got these new drum heads for my drums, and they're so quiet. Can't even hear them. They're called Silent Stroke.
Are they mesh, Dad?
They're mesh.
Oh man, we might need some of those for the Peacock Flame kit.
Yeah, I'll get you some. I got them from Shane up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. He'll ship them right to your door.
What do you think, Fee? Should we get some silent drum heads for that purple drum kit? No, that didn't work.
Can I see that beautiful purple drum set?
Sure.
I miss it. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. Someday. But these are great. These silent strokes are the only thing that's
Golden drum.
what, Fiona?
Golden drum.
You want me to play my drums?
Can I
No,
see?
can I see your golden drum?
Oh, my golden drum? You want to see my golden drum? Yeah, sure. Okay, it's gonna take me 1 second. It's put away. Hold on, everybody. It's worth it. It's worth it. My golden drum.
Nobody moves faster than a retiree trying to get a golden drum for his granddaughter.
What do you think, Fiona?
Go. I want a golden drum.
Well, you'll have this golden drum one day. It'll be yours.
eBay, here we go.
Look at that. In all its goldenness. Joe Franco says he used to have a pink set of drums. Joe, I remember those. I'm going to read some of these messages because they're pretty funny. And Joe, I remember they were a pink Premier set. And you look very manly playing them, by the way.
Going now.
What, Fiona?
We're gonna get going now.
We're going to get going now. Okay, I understand. Well, thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And I think everybody else does too.
I'm gonna wash Daddy's Jeep.
Yeah.
Great day for that. Well, we'll see you guys later. We'll call you guys later for a video chat.
Sounds good.
That's good. Bye.
Okay.
Ooh.
Pink Kids Rock. Yeah. Love the golden drum. Thanks, Derek. Bye, you guys. Johnny, I think you can just happy birthday.
Thanks, Pops. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. See you later.
Say bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Pops.
Bye.
Can you go wash your jeans
All right. Anyway. Well, thanks everybody for hanging in there for that. She was very excited to do it last week when we talked about it. And of course, as we got closer to the time, she got a little bit more, shy, as you would expect from an almost 5-year-old. So, but pretty cool. Pretty cool, if you ask me. Pretty cool. Hey, Paul Gianelli. And there's her Grammy, Kim Newell Pearson, watching. So anyway, I think I mentioned this book, which I'll talk about again here. And I only got a couple of pages into it, but so far so good. It's really cool. And the author's name is Joe Milliken. I believe you can buy it on Amazon. I bought this directly from him, and he was nice enough to personalize it for me, which is great. I think I started to say he did a book signing last fall. And I had a gig that night. He invited me out to it and up in Beverly, Mass, and I couldn't go, but very nice guy. And I'm glad someone did a book on Ben Orr, one of my favorite musicians. So check it out. I mentioned the Silent Stroke Heads. My wife loves these because she loves them, can't hear them, so she loves them. And I may be repeating myself, but the bass drum, unfortunately, is so silent. Even with the mic inside, I've got the Kelly Shoe system with a Shure mic inside, and with the headphones, and I've got my mixer up cranked, I can't hear the bass drum. I guess that's a good thing. Scroll down some of these, get caught up in real time. Here we go. Does Paul G have his GTA shirt on too? Hey, speaking of GTA, Penny Lane, you would be interested in knowing this, and I think others would be as well. By the way, I'm wearing shorts today. It's that warm. It's about 60, almost 70 degrees here in Situate, Mass, even with the ocean breeze. Pretty warm. Got my shorts on. We are going to have next Saturday at 2 p.m. I think everybody's on board with this. We're going to have a GTA live chat with all the members of Grand Theft Audio, my band, which would be Neil Porter, his wife Charlene, Paul Gianelli, who is watching right now, and Paul Candelori, also known as Ace, and myself. I might just be the moderator. I'll be the moderator, and I'll just ask those guys questions. I'll interview them, ask them questions like who their favorite drummer is, how much better the band is now that I'm in the band, things like that to get them to, it'll be a very informative session next week with my bandmates, who are usually pretty shy guys, but I'll get them to open up. So that'll be next Saturday at 2 p.m. Hope you can tune in. It could be fun. And maybe we'll try to play something. I know with the lag time and the delay, it's really not possible, and it really could be a disaster. But it could be fun to try to play something with the five of us. I don't know. We'll see. We would have been playing tonight at the Brickyard in Woburn under normal circumstances, but we're not. So anyway, I mentioned the Silent Stroke Heads. I was going to say thanks to everybody who also joined me on Wednesday when I was talking about endorsements, and maybe that'll be a part 2 conversation somewhere down the line, because I realized, as I always do, there are a whole bunch of really good questions that I missed in real time, and then when I went back and sort of went through it and looked at some of the comments, I realized there were some good questions that people asked. How does it sound with the snares on? I'll demonstrate, Anthony, in 1 second. It sounds pretty good. But I was going to say, if anybody wants to ask any other questions related to Wednesday's chat, I won't make today a very long chat because people probably want to be outside, do fun stuff. But so that's what the snare's on. My friend Kevin Winard, I had mentioned I was getting these last week or at one point, and he said, Kevin said something like, you know, you can play, the snare has great rebound. You can play great rolls on it. And he's right. Otherwise, it is kind of like playing a tennis racket, but the action's pretty good. Trying to play more traditional grip since being shut in here at home. I miss the gigs too, Penny Lane. Believe you me, I miss them. So it'd be great to come back with the band whenever we do in a month or something and be able to play half the night traditional grip like the old. I used to play all traditional back in the old days. I definitely had better control. Then once I started playing match, I couldn't go back to traditional without it being really stiff. So I'm excited that I contacted another friend, local drummer, very good drummer, Chris Anzalone, and also a left-handed drummer like myself. And I'm going to take some lessons with Chris. So if he's watching this, he's now on the spot. We discussed it yesterday, and I'm very serious about trying to get my reading together. And I thought if I studied with another left-handed drummer, it would maybe be easier for me. The first time I tried studying with someone a long time ago, it was difficult because I had to reverse everything he did in terms of the stickings. He would demonstrate it as a right-handed drummer, and then I'd have to, you know, as a left-handed drummer, have to reverse all the stickings. So maybe I could be fooling myself, but maybe, you know, studying with Chris Anzalone will help me sort of get better. I don't know. We'll see. Hi, Tommy. Sorry, you can't go to MV this summer. Oh, yes, I can, Penny Lane. That's not negotiable. Oh, Bobby Krasko sent me a vid. You know, Bobby, I remember that. I think that was at the Brickyard. I know one time we did a song, we dedicated a Pink Floyd song to you, but I don't think that was at the Brickyard. But I'm trying to think of what song. It might have been a Cars song if I was singing, or it could have been a Monkey song. I don't know. So anyway, I started to say really great. I thought it was a really good session the other day with everybody. Lots of great questions about endorsements. People seem to take some things away from it and maybe have a better understanding. One of the questions someone asked me, that said, is it different now than it was, or are the expectations different now or something than what it used to be? And the answer is definitely yes. It's the whole thing is different. You know, in terms of what artists expected 30, even 20 years ago versus what it's, you know, kind of where it's at today. And so much of it, again, has to do with social media and the changes in the industry, the changes in, you know, what's happening in the music business now, and the fact that bands really don't make money on selling records anymore. They just don't. They just, if they sell records, they probably sell them at their gigs themselves. You know, they have a merch table with their newest CD for $20 or something, or people are downloading it. But it's not like it used to be where there was, you know, a record would go platinum. You know, you'd sell a band would sell 1 million records. In many cases, you know, bigger bands like, at the time, again, I'm going back, but bigger bands like, you know, Aerosmith, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, you know, multi-platinum, 5-10 million records, which was a lot of money. Thanks, Anthony. Keep up with the tradition. It will help you bring other, yeah, I agree. I agree. Learn to play traditional grip just from watching like Buddy Rich on TV and Louis Bellson and everybody at that time. Not everybody, I mean, all the rock drummers were playing match grip, but in the 70s, you know, you'd see Buddy Rich on the Tonight Show, and, you know, that was the way you played. and of course, Charlie Watts. I think it was watching Terry Bozzio in the late 70s, early 80s, and seeing what he did. And Billy Cobham, too. I remember seeing Billy, but Billy actually played at times left-handed traditional grip, but on a right-handed kit. So he'd play like this, but then he'd switch to match grip. And, you know, and seeing what he could do with his, quote, weaker hand. Simon Phillips was the same way. It made me want to play match grip, you know, for cymbal crashes and just what that opens up that you really can't do. You know, cymbal crashing with my right hand traditional grip is not, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So back catalog, but not like it was. Yeah, exactly, Dave. Exactly. The other thing I was going to mention is Tony Williams, prime example. Yes, 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 Tony. You know, and then, and I'll just say Vinnie Colaiuta at some point back in the, I think it was in the 80s. At some point, late 80s, he switched back from match grip to all traditional grip and kind of never looked back. Dave Weckl has always been all traditional grip. I don't think Dave has ever played match grip. So, you know, these guys have just incredible technique, facility, and it certainly doesn't affect, doesn't limit them in their playing in any way. So, all right, let's see if I've missed any really good questions or any questions. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, by the way. And thanks for wishing my son a happy birthday today, 33. And he was born on a Saturday, by the way. How about that? Just happened to work out that way. His birthday this year is on a Saturday again. He's one of the few people I know that was actually born in Los Angeles. When I lived out there, everybody that I seemed to meet had come from somewhere else. So I did know quite a few people who were born out there, but it's funny when you go to LA, you live out there for a period of time and you realize that so many people are transplants like you. And so it's just kind of a funny thing. He was born there, and then a couple of years later, he was living on the East Coast, just like that. Yeah, Candio tour. I saw the Candio tour. I also saw the first record tour, Bob Sullivan, talking about the Cars. I saw them in 78, saw them again in 79, and a few more times after that. While working at Wurlitzer, I think it was around 82, 83, they played at the Garden and got all of us everybody at Wurlitzer got a free ticket to the show. I'm going to shut my snares off, which was really cool. And, you know, they were a great band live. People talk about how, you know, they weren't necessarily showmen. Like they didn't, hi, Don Heisler. They didn't get out there and, you know, there wasn't pyrotechnics or like a front man jumping up and down, but they played great. What I loved about them is they sounded like the record. I mean, they went out there in the days when you didn't have backing tracks or any of that stuff that they have now. And they went out there as a 5-piece band and just killed it. You know, they played their songs like the record, which, you know, for me, I like that. I like when you go and you have your songs that you love, and it's nice when the band like reproduces it faithfully rather than completely rearranging it and, you know, not even sounding like the same song. So I always like that about the Cars. So anyway, and the band I'm in, Grand Theft Audio, we play a few of their songs, which are fun. Yeah. Where's the glasses? Oh, Rosemary, the glasses, you mean these? I had them ready to go. I didn't want to scare my granddaughter with them. She probably would have laughed, but at the same time, I think she would have said, Pops, what's gotten into you? So anyway, they're never far away, these glasses. I always have them handy. You just never know when you're going to need them. Yes, exactly. Okay. Gary Ballard, AKA Banana. I just read your comment from a few minutes ago, and I had mentioned that synchro sound. The car studio was right across the street from Wurlitzer on Newbury Street. It's a great studio. They really, I think they bought it and completely transformed it into like a real top rate, studio. So, yeah. The Driesen say hello. Hi, Jeremy and Driesen family, Jenny and your kids, everybody. Mike Rogello, GTA, yeah. Tom, how are things in LA? Hope you're doing well. Tom Caltabiano makes a mean pizza and makes a mean, makes mean bread anyway. All right, sorry for all the downtime here. Any questions anybody wants to ask? I'm going to leave it as a sort of free-for-all for a few minutes. Quite important. If you're just joining, you missed the best part of what this is going to be. My granddaughter Fiona was on for a few minutes, and I've sort of plotted out my drum room, Penny Lane. I have it in my head. Yes, I have a pretty good idea what it's going to be. But my granddaughter was on, and I'll just recap and say that she, earlier this week when we talked about it, she's very excited to do it. And we had talked about all these ideas we had. And then, of course, when it came down to it, she was a little shy. But it was fun to have her. And it's her daddy's birthday. So I didn't want to keep her too long on the away from hanging with her dad and playing outside on this beautiful day. So when was I in LA, Bob Sullivan? I was there from 85 to the end of 88. Moved back here, and then I took the job at Zildjian in the spring of 89. So it was, yeah, not very long, about 3.5 years, 3 and some odd years. But I used to go out there for work as soon as I started working for Zildjian in 89. I was out there, many, many times per year. And probably the last 15 years that I worked there, I was out there probably 6 times a year. Every couple of months, every 6 to 8 weeks, I was in LA. I had my own room at the, well, it wasn't the same room, but usually the same room when it was available at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City. You were there in 92. Wow. Missed you by a few years, but I was definitely visiting in 92. Wish I'd known. That would have been fun. So I'm excited to be able to play drums again. City silent stroke head. As I said, the bass drums just, even with my isolation headphones, the mic cranked up to full volume, it's barely in the mix. I can get the toms and the snare pretty loud with these nice Shure KSM 32 mics. They're a condenser mic, really, really hot. Yeah, I can get plenty of volume out of that, but the Shure Beta 52 is not as present, I guess you could say, as this, but it's a great mic. Randy, what was my most fun cymbal delivery? My most fun cymbal delivery. Well, I made a few cymbal deliveries to Ringo Starr, and they were always fun, especially when he would take some time and we could talk about it. And there was one time in particular where I brought him a 21-inch K big band ride because he was trying to settle on a ride. He wasn't digging what he had, and we were put a trigger on that kick. That's a good idea, Derek. I should try that. Maybe in addition to the mic. But anyway, he started to give me a hard time about how he had played Paiste cymbals when he was, way back in the beginning when he was younger, and as he called them, paste. But it was all in fun. He was just being kind of playful and funny as he would be sometimes. So Anyway, just a funny, that was a fun delivery. What else? Gosh, I can't really remember. I delivered a lot of symbols in my day. So I'm looking at my phone. I should be looking here. Sorry, I'm reading the questions from my phone. Yeah, I delivered many, many symbols. I'll see if I can think of I can think of a fun one. Okay, here's a fun symbol delivery. I wasn't working at Zildjian. I was working at Wurlitzer in 1982. I told this story a few weeks ago when someone asked the first time I met Steve Gadd. So working at Wurlitzer, the guys from Zildjian, Armin Zildjian, Lenny DiMuzio, Jerry Donegan, I think David Duranian, who might be watching right now, who was working there at the time, came over to Wurlitzer and just to kind of check the shop out, to say hello, kind of, what you did back then. You'd visit the local dealer. And Jerry Donegan casually mentioned, Jerry or Lenny, that they were doing a photo shoot next door with Steve Gadd. They said, yeah, we're such and such studios and Steve Gadd's in town. And I'm like, oh, wow. And Lenny said, why don't you bring some symbols over so we can use them for, like props, and maybe you can meet Steve. Kidding me? So put some symbols in a bag. I walked, and Gary Ballard, you might remember the name of this studio. It was literally one or two doors down to when you walked out the front door of Wurlitzer. And Derek Blevins, you might even know, because you were in Wurlitzer all the time, but you walk out the front door on Newbury Street rather, and to the right, it was like it's probably where Newbury Comics is now. It's like a couple of doors down on the right. Very fancy studio. I go in there, bring the symbols. They didn't even really need them. They had kind of what they needed, but it was just a way for me to get in there. And I got to meet Steve for the first time. So he was upstairs, and this is a very famous Zildjian photo shoot. Everybody has seen it. It's for the K line, and Steve's got like a towel around his neck. Looks like he just finished a gig. He's sweating. They just sprayed him down with a spray bottle. I think he might be wearing a red shirt. I can't remember, but it's literally from 1982. And definitely has a towel around his neck. He had the towel around his neck when I met him. And I had a pair of gold plated drumsticks kind of outside my shirt, because, that's what all the cool kids did. You wore your sticks outside your shirt, so everybody knew you were a drummer. And he like touched him. He went, wow, these are nice. Where'd you get these? And I said, oh, my girlfriend gave them to me. And I thought about yanking them off and giving them to him, but I didn't. Anyway, do I have any stories about Buddy Rich? I do. Again, and this is maybe a repeat. I can tell you the story of the first time I met Buddy. I met him a few times, but the first time is probably the most memorable. And I can tell you it was in the fall of 1979. And I went to go see him at a high school on a Monday night, which is what he used to do back then. He'd have an open night on his schedule. I mean, Buddy lived on the road in those days. I mean, he made his living playing one-nighters, or, maybe club dates for a few nights, but pretty much like one-nighters. And my friend Fred Klein called me one day on a Monday afternoon and said, Buddy's playing tonight at Arlington High School. We should go. And I said, yeah, let's go. We'll go. So we go, and I feel like it was like general admission. I feel like we got there early enough to the two of us got seats in the front of the auditorium of the high school. And you can picture like what an old high school auditorium looked like. It was like a small theater with a tiered seating, big stage. Comes out with this full big band, absolutely killing it. Hi, Neil. Neil Porter's watching. Check out my shirt, Neil. Singer for Grand Theft Audio, Neil Porter. My singer. So anyway, plays a killing first set, just an unbelievable first set. Takes the break from intermission. And my friend Fred Klein, who's a pretty reserved guy, at least back then he was, kind of a shy guy, said, let's go back and see if we can meet Buddy. Let's try to go backstage. And I'm like, really? What? How are we going to do that? So we walked down a little side entrance to the stage, the little, you could see the doors on either side of the stage that went back. So we walked down through that little hall, go in through a room, and in the room, we see Buddy, Armin Zildjian, and Lenny DiMuzio. And I didn't recognize Armin or Lenny, but Fred Klein knew who they were. So we just sort of walked in there. They didn't say, they didn't seem that upset. They weren't upset. They didn't seem that even surprised that these two punk 18, 19-year-old kids walked in there. And I think I said first, Buddy, can you sign my program? And he signed it, kind of handed it back to me. And then my friend Fred Klein had him sign his program. And then Fred said to him, can you recommend any books on syncopation? And Buddy said, syncopation's up to you. And Fred said, but can you recommend a book, like the Ted Reed book or any books on syncopation? And he barked like, syncopation's up to you. Kind of like that scene in The Wizard of Oz when pay no attention to the man behind the curtain and the flames come out of the statue. So we kind of hightailed it out of there. And he was not mean or anything. He was fine. He was with Armin and Lenny, and he signed our autographs, signed our programs, and fulfilled his obligation, so to speak. And that was that. I totally get it. Certainly now I get it. When you kind of invade somebody's space like that, they don't really owe you. When someone's gracious enough to give you some time. So often with Steve, when we'd be on the road, with Steve Gadd, we'd be on the road, and he was so great about that stuff. When you knew that he'd had more than his limit, there'd be one more person that just wanted to take a picture or just wanted to have him sign something. And I'd be the one going, we got to go. We got to get on the bus and go. And he'd go, no, I'll it's kind of a good cop, bad cop thing. But anyway, back to Buddy, he was really cool. And I met him a few more times after that. And he was cool each time. I mean, a couple of those times I was actually with the people from Zildjian. It was later when I had this job at Wurlitzer. And I was lucky enough to have been invited to a local show. So afterward, I got to go out to the bus and meet him. And he was, because I was with Lenny DiMuzio or Armin Zildjian, he was great. He was, how you doing, kid? Good to meet you, kid. So yeah. What can you say? Buddy was amazing. Randy Blosel, 1976, Disneyland. I asked him for his sticks before the show. Nope. Well, but Randy, you can understand that. I mean, if somebody asked you for your sticks before a gig, I know I'd say no. I'd say maybe afterward. Come see me afterward. And I've, certainly given out sticks to people afterward, but I'm guessing Buddy probably didn't have a ton of sticks with him in those days either. Thanks, Neil. You like my shirt. I'm glad you like it. I'm very proud of this shirt. I'm just jumping backwards just to see if I missed any other questions here. Hey, Greg Crane. For anybody watching, Greg Crane is the U.S. artist relations man for Yamaha Drums, that little company called Yamaha, the drum division. Greg is the man out in California who takes care of all the drum endorsers, drum artists. Greg, I did a session the other day about endorsements and had a few industry guys. Chris Brady was watching and Josh Touchton, and I'm trying to think a few other guys. I don't know if you saw it, but anyway, it would have been good to have you comment and put in your 2 cents worth. Talking about how much money all the companies pay their endorsers. No, I didn't say that because that's not true. Not even funny to joke about it. Penny Lane, you do have some Johnny D sticks. That's right. Where can you buy these shirts, Pete? Well, the first batch is sold out, but hopefully we're going to make some more. I was going to make more a few weeks ago. I'm kind of glad I didn't. because then the band stopped working for 2 months. So when things kind of get back to normal, I'm going to make some more up and we'll sell them, and I'll send you one. Bob Sullivan, yes. I did hear about Tony Allen, and I'll tell you Tony Allen's story. So I've told this story before about Ginger Baker and the tribute we did for him in London in 2008 at Shepherd's Bush Empire. And that was, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, that was 5 years after the thing we'd done for Steve Gadd at Berkeley and Boston. We did something for Ginger in London. And so we had a whole bunch of people play that night to pay tribute. And we had Simon Phillips, we had Keith Carlock, we had Steve White, amazing lineup of drummers and musicians, Tony Levin, the keyboard player for Deep Purple, John Lord, rest his soul, was there, playing with Steve White in like a organ trio band that he had. Jack Bruce was part of the band, and Tony Allen, who Ginger had a relationship with, Ginger had said to me sometime over the summer, about 6 months before, that he wanted Tony Allen there. So I got in touch with Tony, I think through his manager, someone that represented him. And we arranged to have Tony Allen, and it was unbelievable. There was another percussionist by the name of Abbas Dodo, who played, mostly congas and hand percussion, but Tony played drum set, obviously, alongside of Ginger. And it was like otherworldly to hear the two of them play together. And Tony was, I only met him that time. Like, we spent a couple of days together, actually more than a couple of days, more like 3 or 4 days together between rehearsals and everything else. But just a beautiful soul, a really nice guy. And I think I had some contact with him after that. We actually made him an endorser. I think we made him an artist. He didn't have an endorsement deal with anybody, which was crazy. So got him some cymbals, got him signed up. And anyway, it's a real loss to see that he passed away this week. So rest in peace, Tony Allen, a real special guy, and a real institution in African drumming, just so special. So yeah, Gary Marshall, you were there. I know you were there. Okay, so Coley, we graduated same year from high school, 1978, grew up at the height of the Boston rock scene. Yep. What was my first concert? My first concert was in 1974 also. It was Elton John at the Boston Garden, I want to say it was in the fall of 74, because not long after that, my second concert was the Beach Boys. And I feel like it was a matter of a few weeks later. And that was, I remember, in November-ish. So I remember seeing Elton John, and it was the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road tour. He was playing all those songs, opened the show with Love Lies Bleeding, Funeral for a Friend. And I'll just say that in the span of about 6 months, from the fall of 74 to the spring of 75, I saw, in this order, Elton John, the Beach Boys, Aerosmith in April of 1975. Toys in the Attic had just come out. They played, I told Joey Kramer this story many, many years later, obviously, but 1975, they played a triple bill with Foghat, and the first band was Angels with Dirty Faces. Now, I couldn't tell you one song that they played, but I'll never forget the name of the band, Angels with Dirty Faces. And it was in the days of basically general admission, but they had a term for it where there was no assigned seating. So it was crazy. It was like every man for himself to try to find a place to stand or sit. What did they call it? Concert seating? I don't know, something crazy like that. Anyway, Aerosmith in April, and then in June of 1975, I saw a little band called the Rolling Stones for the first time at the Boston Garden. June 6th, 1975. That date I remember. And I believe the Aerosmith date, you can look this up, Google it right now, Boston Garden, 1975. I believe it was April 15th or 18th. Whatever the day was, it was Steven Tyler got on the mic that night at the show and said, it was the anniversary of the revolution, which I think was the 18th or maybe the 19th. And he used it. He threw a couple of F-bombs that night, which I'd never heard at a concert before. I was only 14 years old. And he said, can you believe we fought a revolution right here in this same effing spot? And the crowd, of course, went crazy. Joey Kramer played a drum solo. Might have been during Train Kept a Rolling. And it was incredible. I remember I was totally straight, sober. I didn't do any drugs, any alcohol. And it was one of the best drum solos I'd ever heard. I remember like going, oh my God, this guy's amazing. He's way better than I thought. I mean, I loved his drumming on those records, the first 3 records at that point. But he opened my mind to him having a whole lot more chops and technique than what I thought he had. And he threw his drumsticks and one landed, I don't know, a few feet away. I didn't get it. Somebody else got it. But it was, if I'd been a little bigger and stronger and crazier, I would have dove for it. Probably would have gotten in a fight with someone because there were crazy people there. But back to the Rolling Stones. Coley, I know this is a long-winded answer to your question, but truly life-changing seeing the Stones in '75 for the first time. That was the first tour that Ronnie Wood played in the band. Mick Taylor had quit 6 months before, so they scrambled to get Ronnie Wood. He toured with them. It was great. It wasn't the same as Mick Taylor, but it was great. It was incredible. I went to the first night, the first show. They played 2 nights. My older brother went to the second night. And I'll share this with you. This is what went through the mind of a 14-year-old kid who was obsessed with this band and this drummer in particular. And I remember sitting there with my friends, and our seats weren't really great, but they weren't the worst. Could kind of looked over the band, could see them down below. Charlie had recently shaved his head. He had the crew cut. And I remember looking and thinking, that can't really be them. These are just some guys dressed up to look like them. There's no way that I'm sitting in the same room as the Rolling Stones. That can't be possible. I just couldn't, my mind couldn't get around that I'm actually in the same, like, I couldn't maybe quite throw a rock to them, but well, maybe I could have, but it was just so hard for me to sort of, I did eventually realize, it did finally sink in a few songs in, and I just enjoyed it. And I remember just singing my throat out to every song, standing up the entire time, sweating because there's no air conditioning in the garden. And it was a hot night in June. Everybody was just soaked through their skin. But best of all, here's where it gets really funny. The Stones in those days were known for, I think they got this idea from Guns N' Roses. They would go on very late. So if the first band, who incidentally that night was the Crusaders, who were amazing. Styx Hooper on drums, amazing drummer who later became a very good friend of mine. But the Crusaders opened, and I remember listening and going like, wow, these, they were great musicians. And I'm thinking, this drummer's amazing. Listen to this guy. And probably 20 minutes into their set, people started going, get off, Stones. I'm like thinking, yeah, I want to see the Stones too, but I mean, they're going to come on. Why not just, and I think even in my mind, I thought, I don't think they're going to come on any sooner if you boo these guys off, Anyway, I think they finished their set, but there was an endless amount of time between when the Crusaders finished and the Stones came on. I want to say they came on somewhere around 10 o'clock at night. And I kid about Guns N' Roses because 20 years later, or however many years later, 15 years later, that was a staple at a Guns N' Roses show. Is, late 80s, early 90s, their whole thing was like it was a big to-do. Kind of silly because the Stones had already done it. So why? You know what I mean? Just start on time. You know what I mean? Just start on time. So they come out, they play a 2.5-hour show without a break, which is still what they do today. They play like 2 hours, 20 minutes. They played about that long, 2 hours, 20, 30 minutes. It's 12:30 in the morning. We all come outside. The T had stopped running. The train, we would have taken the subway or the the B&M train, the Boston and Maine train from North Station to our stop in Melrose. And they had just stopped running the trains. So I forget who it was. One of us called our mother, and she came in. I think it might have been Stephen Henry's mom or Duke Salviati's mom. Someone's mom came and picked us up and drove us home on a school night in June. Crazy stuff. Anyway, thank you, Christy. I remember some things. Schaefer Stadium, Beach Boys, 74. Yeah. Okay. Jay Giles, Neil, the Boston Garden. Hey, Neil, was that the time that a certain former bandmate of mine from Trigger took your ticket and out of your hand and like went inside and left you kind of oil slicked out there? Yeah, Joey's Playing on Rocks was fantastic on all those records, Tom. First record, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings. The second record, Toys in the Attic, Rocks. Great sound, great drumming. Jack Douglas, the great producer, produced those first 3 or 4 records. And I think he had a lot to do with harnessing all that talent, and making those guys. I mean, they had the goods, but you had to harness it because they were getting into some bad stuff by that time. Oh, not yours, but Mike's. Okay. Yeah. So it was David took Mike's ticket and yeah. Anyway. Hey, Sandy. Yeah. When I'm done, we can talk, I will tell you. So for the benefit of my friend, Sandy Gennaro, who I know I always do this when I see one of my friends on here, but I want to just, first of all, say hello to Sandy, who's a very, very dear and longtime friend living in Nashville now, but a New Yorker who I met, get ready, Sandy, 35 years ago, this year, 1985. He did a clinic for us at Freddie G's Drum Shop in Everett or Malden, wherever it was at the time. And then a few months later, I was working at Simmons. Sandy came in on tour, reconnected. Then he was playing with the Monkees after that and has been their drummer really, in the days of when they were the Monkees, for 20 something years anyway, but great drummer. Played with Cyndi Lauper in the 80s. You can see him on all her videos. Pat Travers. Anyway, but Sandy, I just want to tell you that I originated this from Zoom. In order to add a person to the conversation, you have to have it in a Zoom meeting, and then I'm streaming it to Facebook. So in this case, unlike last Wednesday, a couple of days ago, I was right on my iPhone directly into Facebook Live. In this case, and like last week with Steve Gadd, where I had Steve as a guest, I created a meeting in a Zoom room, and then you stream it over to Facebook. And that creates a 20-second delay between what I'm saying right now and when you hear it. So I'm trying to get used to that because I can't, when it's the 20-second delay, I can't really watch it on my computer. It gets kind of goofy. Although I could try. I might try to do that real quick. But yeah, I can explain how that works. Be glad to. So anyway. Welcome everybody that's just joined in here. Not the same at 13, my first Peter Frampton concert. Well, so Penny Lane, let me tell you about Peter Frampton. I think I've told you this before. Hey, John Ferraro. My old buddy John Ferraro is watching. Rob Harson. All right. A lot of great drummers watching. This is great. Hey, Sandy. Hi, Sandy boy. Anyway, Peter Frampton. I saw Rod Stewart and the Faces on their last tour in the fall of 75. So Ronnie Wood had played with the Stones that summer of 75 as a fill-in. He was not in the band yet. He was just kind of fulfilling the obligation for the, so the band could tour. They needed a guitar player. Ronnie Wood was the guy. It looked pretty definite that he was going to end up being the permanent guy. But at that point, he was not. He was just like a substitute guitar player in the band. he was still in the Faces. They toured that fall in October. They played the Boston Garden with a little known opening band called Peter Frampton. And I knew who Humble Pie was, but I didn't put it together that he was the guy that was in Humble Pie. And my friends that were with me, and I want to say my friend Bo Kennedy, and him and we were pretty much at every concert together, but a bunch of my friends were there. And I remember all of us saying to each other, like it was one of the first times we were there to see someone and loving the opening band. You know, usually you'd be there just waiting for that band to finish. Like, okay, yeah, come on, I want this. When's so-and-so going to come on? But we were like, we were blown away by Peter Frampton. So it would have been October. It would have been 2 months before Comes Alive was recorded, which I believe was December of 1975. Might have even been November. It was recorded in San Francisco on that same tour. And then, of course, released in this early part of 76. But that was the first time I saw Peter Frampton. I saw him a few times after that. But Burning Man, Luis Conte, Burning Man, burning. Yes, Peter Frampton opening for the Faces. And the Faces concert was amazing. It was just I love that band anyway. And Kenny Jones, the drummer, and of course, Ronnie Wood was the guitar player, Rod Stewart, and McLagan was the keyboard player. And at that point, they had a different bass player than Ronnie Lane, Japanese guy. But he was with them a long time and really, really great. But Kenny was just like another really kind of underappreciated drummer, Kenny Jones. Played a great drum solo, and I think he played it during I'm Losing You, if I'm not mistaken. And it was killer. Yeah, Stanley Sheldon was definitely in the band, for sure. Stanley was playing with Frampton at that time. When I saw him last year in Nashville, we talked about that. Hey, Rob. Yeah, Luis, John Ferraro, Rob Harson, Sandy Gennaro. Yes, we were at a lot of the same concerts, Penny. We were. Oh, you were talking to Bob, not me. Sorry about that. How dare I? Yeah. So, I was thinking, I got a little nostalgic this morning, my son's birthday, which makes me nostalgic all the time. The fact that he's 33. How does that make me feel? No, I got no problem with that. But anyway, my son also has a birthday close to, not on the same day, but a couple of days before my dear friend, the late Lenny DeMusio, whose birthday is Monday. And Lenny this year would have turned 87. So I was just thinking about Lenny this morning. I went for a run and I was thinking about doing this with Fiona, hoping that she was still going to want to do it. And I almost expected her at the last minute to just pull the plug and say, I don't want to do it, Pops. And what could I say? But then I was thinking about Johnny's birthday and Lenny. And then I just started thinking about all these funny stories with Lenny. It all sort of segues back to that. And I remember when Lenny turned 60, which would have been 1993, we had a party for him. It was like during after work one night. It was a work night. And we went to like a TJI Fridays near Zildjian in Norwell. It's gone now, but we used to go there sometimes. And I think we closed the place because it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, like 11 o'clock. And we went back to my house, back to my apartment, because no one wanted to go home. And again, it was a work night. It was a school night, but it might have been before 11, because I feel like when Lenny showed up at my house, he had stopped at the package store, the liquor store, and bought some supplies. And I remember it's his birthday, and him showing up, after a few people had gotten here, going, yeah, Johnny, I got some supplies, bottle of this and a couple of 6-packs of that. And he was such a fun guy, And, it didn't have to be fancy, just a bunch of us sitting around probably with a couple of bags of chips, telling jokes and stuff. The great Lineage Museo, God rest his soul, would have been 87 this coming Monday, the 4th of May. So, but anyway, Jack, you missed a special guest. It was my granddaughter, but I think you can rewind. Everybody, Jack Bruno's watching, by the way, my good buddy. She didn't stick around, Jack. It's her dad's birthday today, so they had stuff to do. Plus, it's a beautiful day for the first time in a long time here. It's like 70 degrees and sunny. So, and her little brother's taking a nap. So that's her opportunity to have a lot of fun with her dad. So you missed Fiona, but you can rewind this from the top and see her on the show. But yeah, Mike Edison, talking about Kenny Jones. Yeah. Absolutely. Bonham-esque, really great, totally could swing. And yeah, he wasn't the best choice for the Who, but I still like a lot of the stuff he did with those guys. I thought Eminence Front, it was a departure from anything they had done, but I just love the groove that he played in that song. You can hear the bass drum. Yeah, anyway, there was another one that he played that was, I liked Athena too, it was like kind of a silly, I don't know what it even was supposed to be, but he played some great stuff in that, I thought. Like anything by The Who, really. But yeah, he was definitely in his element with Faces. That was like his band for sure. And of course, as we've talked about, he, more fun than a drummer guest. Absolutely. Way more fun. As we talked about, Kenny Jones played on the Rolling Stones song, It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it. Just that one song. Not the album, but the song. And probably, I'm guessing in one take. I don't know. Maybe not, but he played it as basically a scratch track. Really, it was designed to be a reference track for them to lay the track down so that Mick could hold on to the idea, and then they'd recut it with the Stones because it was in Ronnie Wood's studio. And Ronnie actually co-wrote the song and didn't get a song credit for it, but that's another story. But yeah, they called Kenny in the middle of the night. He came down, had a drum set up, played the track that you hear on the radio is Kenny Jones, because it was so good. Even Charlie said, why change it? So, but yeah, Jack, back to what you said. Yes, I said earlier on that after having Steve last week, Steve Gadd, I wanted to have somebody even better than that. So I thought, my granddaughter, much, much better than Steve. I told Steve yesterday, he was one of the few people that I let in on the surprise. So I don't know if he's going to watch it. Maybe Carol will watch it later. But anyway, the idea of a hi-hat in The Who is troubling. Well, that's true. But, if you look at Mike, and I think this, by the way, everybody, Mike Edison, who's right here now commenting, the Mike Edison, is the author of Sympathy for the Drummer, Why Charlie Watts Matters. So Mike was on a couple of weeks ago commenting when I had the book in front of me, and I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, but I'll just say again, it's a great read. Sympathy for the Drummer, Why Charlie Watts Matters. Mike Edison is right here, right now, and watching the author. He did a great job with it. Uses some different kind of words than I've heard before, and now they're forever in my vernacular. So, and I appreciate that. But Mike, what I was going to say is a lot of the older Who tunes, he does play a hi-hat. Can explain. He's playing eighth notes on the hi-hat. Definitely some of the older stuff. And if you look at the old footage, like in the Kids Are All Right movie, there's something from really early on, 1964 or 5, and they're playing Shout. And Keith's playing like a traditional 4 or 5, I think a 4-piece kit, like a typical one-up floor tom kick, snare, hi-hat, couple of crashes, and he's, playing it, like a drummer would. I mean, like a traditional drummer would with the hi-hat. So you're welcome, Mike. Well, Jack, I'll send you the link. A friend of mine, Travis Coakley, made a YouTube link, and I actually did one as well for the full unedited version of the Gad interview. So I can send you the link if you got an hour and 25 minutes to literally waste one day. You can watch it. So I'll text it to you. Yeah. Saw Kenny and the Who in Syracuse. I never got to see Kenny with the Who, unfortunately, but saw Zach with him a whole bunch of times. The shout performance is amazing. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, where Keith's playing a regular, I think it's a Ludwig kit, and he's killing it. I mean, he's playing all this crazy stuff. I mean, really good drummer. I mean, he's a really, really good drummer. I have more than that. Thanks. Okay. I'll text it to you in just a little bit, Jack. All right. Wow. Time flies when I talk about literally nothing. Maybe I should wrap it up. Charlie Drayton, you have missed my special guest, my featured guest. I could torture you and say you have to, watch this from the beginning and see it. But I'll tell you, it was my granddaughter. It was Fiona, who came on early on, and she was a little shy, definitely more than a little shy, because she's not usually shy, but she was shy. And I probably shouldn't have told her that people would be watching. I think if she thought it was just me and her and Kelly having a conversation, she would have been her usual self, which is hilarious, just hilarious. But I think everybody got the point. That'd be great, Charlie. She was funny. She played a little bit. She played her electronic drums, and if Greg Crane's still watching, she was playing her Yamaha electronic drums. The Pop Spot a couple of years ago. Yeah, just like you, Charlie. Shy, just like you. All right. Cool. Wow. It's good to see Charlie Drayton. By the way, next Saturday, 1 week from today, the day that we have our Grand Theft Audio band chat, is my friend Charlie Drayton's birthday, May the 9th. Charlie, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of a milestone birthday, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's the double nickels birthday. Can I tell people that? Do you don't want people, you don't care how people know how old you are. You're younger than me, so you can't get upset if I tell people you're 55. So yeah, so check it out. Next Saturday, May 9th, all you drummers might want to note this. Born on the same day, but not the same year as Charlie Drayton, young fellow by the name of Dennis Chambers, and another young fellow by the name of Will Kennedy, all born on that day. And also my sister-in-law, Tracy, also born on May 9th. And this year is Will and I were both born in 1960. So Will will turn 60 next week. Dennis turned 60 a year ago. There are no more milestone days. I agree, Charlie. Always something to learn from a young spirit. Yep. I agree. Milestone birthdays. Well, I'm going to wish you a happy birthday now. And I'll be texting you on your birthday next week to wish you a happy birthday for realsy. It's kind of an annual tradition. I think I missed it one year. And Will Kennedy called me on it. And he's like, man, what? I was waiting for your birthday wish. Kidding, of course. He's joking. But Charlie does kick butt. One of my favorites, too. So Charlie Drayton, Sandy Gennaro, Jack Bruno. Who am I missing? Some other great drummers on here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Really, really do. And I know there's some other great drummers, Rob Harson, who I don't know personally, Luis Conte, John Ferraro. I always seem to get drummers watching. I wonder why. Tom Evans. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Oh, thanks, Charlie. Hey, Justin. Justin's tuned in, Charlie's teacher. Well, I don't know. Maybe I didn't, but I thought I might have. Can I send in my questions for GTA band chat? Yes, you can, Penny. We're going to be overrun with questions next week. So again, I'm gonna just give you a shout out of a reminder that next Saturday, this is one you don't want to miss. This is going to be really exciting. It's going to be myself and my 4 bandmates from Grand Theft Audio live right here, answering all your questions about what it's like to be in a cover rock band that hasn't worked in close to 2 months now and doesn't know when it's going to ever work again. So tune us in if you can next Saturday. And I may do something Wednesday. I was thinking maybe I would do part 2 of the endorsement chat, because I thought of some things afterward that I didn't talk about, and I didn't want to make it too long. So, hey, Danny Gottlieb is watching. Another great drummer. Wow. So do me a favor, and if you guys don't mind, just hit a little message on it, a little comment. Nice to meet you too, Rod. A little comment if you think you'd be interested in like a part 2 on endorsements and maybe just some some industry stuff, but or maybe I just keep it to 1 a week and there'll be more to talk about, so to speak. But anyway, what's it like to be in a non-working cover band? It's the best, Mike. It's the best. And I wish I could tell you that with all this downtime, I've been playing a lot, but I haven't, because I've mentioned this before with my wife and I kind of shut in all day long. It used to be when she'd go out, I could play and I had free reign in the drum set. But it's pretty loud in the house when we're both home together. So I've got these silent stroke heads I just got, and I'm getting used to them. And I got these rubber things on my cymbals, these Vic Firth rubber mutes. Can't really quiet the hi-hats too much. And I'm going to just play this week. I'm going to just sit down and grin and bear it and just enjoy playing and not worry about what it sounds like. You know? Part 2. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Gary. Okay, I will. Thank you, Penny. I will. I'll do a part 2 because there's more stuff to talk about. All right, Charlie. Yeah, you got to promise you'll join me, Charlie, on Wednesday. If I do it Wednesday at 2. Charlie, are you in New York or are you in LA right now? I never know where you are. You're a man of mystery and always on the move. What percentage of wannabe endorsers actually get signed? Brad, that's an excellent question. Excellent question. Oh boy. I couldn't tell you right now today what that percentage is because, as I said, I've been a civilian for 7 years, but based on when I was still doing it, it was a small percentage. It was a small number. I mean, it was, I wouldn't even say 10%. The number of requests that we got and the number of people that we signed, it was a small number. In New York, okay, right above the city. Good. I hope you're safe, Charlie. I'm sure you are. Please continue to be safe. I don't know if LA is any better because, it seems like people are kind of, loosening their own controls by thinking it's safe to get back out there a little too soon on the beaches, and not to get into all that stuff. But yeah, Danny and Charlie and Gary Marshall, Rick Montalbano. Look at all these guys. Oh, thanks, Gary. And you were good to me. Appreciate that. Well, as we approach the hour and 25 mark, I think I'm going to sign off here, guys. Did I ever meet Neil Smith? Bob, you had to ask that question to keep me on here. I never did. I wish I had. I think he lives in Connecticut. I think. For anybody who doesn't know who Neil Smith is, he was the guy that played on a lot of the Alice Cooper records, early records. And I think he played on pretty much all those early records. Really good drummer, really good sound. This guy that worked for me, Jim McGaffey, who Charlie Drayton knows, and Pat Petrillo, who's watching, knows, and Danny Gottlieb, they all know Jim McGaffey. Really, really good guy. I know Jim had somehow gotten in touch with, so Jim worked for Zildjian from like 98 or 99 until 2007 or 2008. Not quite 10 years, like 8 years or something. And it's sometime during that time, Jim had gotten in touch with Neil Smith. And I feel like he was in Connecticut. And I think, you know, in those days, if the person wasn't a signed artist, depending on, you know, kind of the situation, everything's different, but we could help somebody off the books. We could, if he had some cracked cymbals, we'd let him trade a couple of cracked cymbals in for a couple of new ones. So I think Jim had made contact with him at one point. And I'm pretty sure he played Zildjian on those old Alice Cooper records. I haven't played a Tony Allen record today, but I will. I absolutely will. Charlie, early on, I was telling everybody about how I got to meet Tony and work with him when we did the tribute to Ginger Baker in 2008 in London. And Ginger had worked with Tony before and wanted Tony there to play with him at the end of the night with Jack Bruce and some horn players that played in Charlie Watts's band, Charlie's jazz band. So it was through Charlie that I met these horn players. And Charlie, you might even know some of these guys. Gerard, oh gosh. Gerard was one of them. The tenor sax player is a very well-known guy in London. Last name is King. Anyway, yeah, he played Slingerland. So anyway, Tony came and played, and we spent, you know, we were together between rehearsals and the show and everything, like 3 or 4 days. And Tony was a really, really warm, cool guy, you know, just a really quiet and positive presence, you know, and what an amazing player, you know, him and Ginger played together. So anyway, I feel really blessed. I stayed in touch with him. I was still worked for Zildjian for another 4 years after that. And I know I was in touch with Tony a couple of times after that. And then I hadn't been in touch in recent years, but yeah, I was very sad to see that. So it's tough, man. It's tough. It's never, an amazing touch. It's just never, ever, ever easy when we lose these guys, you know, it never is. Can't really say anything more than that. Yeah. Yeah, Neil Smith, great drummer. Great drummer. Tony Mason. Yeah, Charlie Drayton's nickname, CD. My pleasure, Charlie. Thank you. Thanks, man. Yeah. All right, well, so I'm going to sign off for now, and I'm going to be back Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, talk a little bit more about the business, about endorsements. So please join me. And Pat Petrillo, if you're around, you're probably busy, I'm sure, with lessons and all that, but if you can break free and join us too, because I'd love for you to weigh in on some stuff too with, you know, your experience in the business and all you guys, you know, I'll send out a little notification for this Wednesday. And then next Saturday, very exciting conversation with my bandmates in Grand Theft Audio. In fact, I'm kind of nervous about it now, like what to say to these guys, because pretty intimidating talking to my bandmates. Anyway, so sign off. Say thanks for joining. Thanks for watching Fiona. I'm sorry she was a little shyer than usual. Maybe she'll come on another time. And entertain you guys, but well, just having her here was great, I think. So I'll see you guys in a couple of days. I'm going to go outside and enjoy this beautiful weather we're having right now. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Wear your masks, social distance, and I'll see you soon. All right, over and out.